Good day buddies. Hope you're having a great time out there. This video is dedicated to one of the fastest growing ant species in the world, my 2-year-old pet Trichomyrmex Destructor colony. It's been a while since we've last seen them, as their last update was 8 months ago. So, expect another massive growth scene for this unstoppable ant colony. We've given them their first DIY vertical nest a year ago, and with the colony's countless queens since they are inbreeding, they fully occupied it in just few months. We've been late for just a day on their expansion, and been greatly overwhelmed by the sudden population explosion. As a result, we've seen them purge, or kill a portion of their less capable workforce. All caused by lack of nesting space. Luckily we've solved the problem by giving them this additional vertical nest with double water tower. With more room available, we then added queens that we caught on nuptial flight last year to expand genetic diversity of this inbreeding colony. Which they never disappoint, as they again fill up the new nest in astonishing speed. It's really tough to keep up with this girls. Almost all the chambers look like this. Jam-packed with broods and workers, only a few room had a breather like this with still has a space for growth. This time we've prepared them an additional nest extra early, so we'll avoid the purging that happened in the past. And here's the new nest, which is double the space for the nest and outworld, compared to the previous two. This time I decided to do a little landscaping, looking like this, which we never did for this colony's setup before. Before we introduce the colony here, let me show you how I did the landscape quick. We did a short vid about this in the past, but we'll be giving more details on this one, which is hard to do on the short vid. Just using some piece of Sintra board, we're going to draw how we want the landscape to look like. How many curves will it consist? And how high it would be. We just cut the pattern we drew, and use it to make the second layer to avoid overlapping. Using super glue, we attached a handle like on each layer guide for easier placement and removal. We drilled holes on the base layer, to make a space for the hot glue. This will prevent it to slide, and will help the landscape to stay on place after drying. Especially this big one here, as it's not attached to any of the corners. Next is we're just gonna surround it with moist sand, to take their shape of the Sintra board. Then just remove it and fill it with a sanded grout. We'll just place the next layer on top of it, and repeat the process by surrounding it with moist sand again. We just did repeat it until we use all of the prepared Sintra layers, in this case a 3-layer. And after drying it for a day, we just cleared the sand and voila! We got that nice landscape for the colony's new outworld. We'll just layer sand on the remaining glass flooring. So cleaning the waste area later will be easier, which we'll gonna share later on. The only thing left to do now is connect it, here, and we just remove this small containers serving as their feeding area, starting on their first month until now. And introduced the colony, then I just spent the next few hours watching as this ants viewing party slowly unfolds. As the ants storm the new ant farm like crazy. We also transferred their water feeder here, and also gave them a pre-killed roach to feast on. And a pool of sugar, water to energize them on exploring the vast new land, for hunting and nesting. Nothing is more satisfying in keeping ants than seeing them get excited like this over a new nest you just offered. We're talking about tens of thousands of ants here surging each tunnels with extreme excitement, just one of the beauty of ant keeping. We've given them this setup last December, and they speed fill it in a few months. Currently looking like this, before we check them closely and give them 2 special meals they'll be trying for the first time to celebrate their birthday. Let me express my gratitude to one of our loyal supporter of the channel, our buddy Mim Propagandist, for sending us super thanks. That means a lot. Thank you. Let me also say welcome back, buddies. And for those new to the channel, you're also welcome to D Colony. At present time, the nest looked like this, almost fully occupied. We only have this few spots here, that has obvious free space for more growth of this ultra-prolific ant species. While most of it is so jam-packed looking like this, with overwhelming brood counts. And of course we also got free space on the entrance chamber, which they usually stock up their gathered food supplies. Anyway, we can see this dirty spots here, which they dump garbage their first time, resulting to this. So I dried up one of their current nest, to let them move here faster. That way they'll abandon dumping waste here, as what I plan all along is to replace both the smaller vertical nest with this bigger size. So this smaller one will be replaced in the future too, and speaking of it, let's check it next. While the bigger ant farm is now heavily occupied, that gives the smaller formicarium a breather. As we can see, lots of free space for growth. But don't be fooled by the looks of it, buddies, as they'll be occupied in no time. Just look at each base of the chambers here, consist mountain of young broods like this, which will develop really quick, as the temperature on my place or the whole country now is extremely hot. The hottest I've ever experienced, causing problems on my ant keeping as well. As most ants can't handle too much heat, especially if they're on captivity. Now let's check them on the other side, which is here on their outworld. Such a scary view of ants, with an army of tens of thousands. In one of the outworlds, we can see lots of this wings shed by the islets. As we've featured before, this colony are inbreeding, so this wings belongs to the newly mated reproductives of the colony. And those pile of wings is located on this smaller outworld's garbage site. While on the other outworld, we got an even bigger and mountainous waste area. I haven't cleaned this since they moved last December, buddies, so this is a 4 months worth of waste. We're gonna clean it today, we just need to distract them first with special food. For that, we're giving them 2 meals to celebrate their 2nd birthday. Meals that they never had before, so this is definitely going to be special. First, we got this scoby fish. It was supposed to be fed yesterday, but I postponed it for their birthday, and it's only left and dried in a room temperature just for a day, buddies. But it's already dried like this. It's possible cause we got 37 degrees Celsius inside the room where this Trichomamex Destructor colony is located. I'm sweating like crazy whenever I'm here without the fan. and most ants would die from this temperature, but destructors love the heat. Anyway, let's give them the first meal, and witnessed such scary swarm of ants. They're now busy working on the eyes, trying to immediately penetrate their way on this tasty meal. Now that most are busy in the meal, let's clean this mountain of waste quick. This is already compact enough, as the ants also started to dig on them. We'll just need to loosen this up using a stick, so vacuuming it will be easy. And after that, we'll just replace the sand so the waste won't accumulate on the glass floor directly. And just what we always do, the vacuumed waste will be put on a container and place it above the cleansing tower, so the ants that got sucked up can be reunited with the colony. Just look at how fast they covered the newly placed sand. Back on the goby fish, they already had their way into the eyes in just few hours. They also find the underbelly to be softer, so most ants coming out they're carrying this bits of fish meat. And they continue to work for it for the next 24 hours. And the next morning, the fish are all bones, as it was too light when I tried lifting it. It's just that the ants can't seem to dismantle the fish scales, so next time we'll offer them a fish we'll be removing the scales for sure. So, we get a full skeletal display next time. Speaking of next, the next meal doesn't have scales, so I'm sure we can get a good view of the skeleton outcome. Now the second meal, for the second day of celebration. I found it dead on my backyard, and thought it was killed by a cat. But it had no wounds, so it maybe died of old age. The reason why I pick it up is to preserve it, like what we did on resin lately with my ant art. But having a full skeleton to preserve in resin is much cooler, don't you think, buddies? So we'll just let the ants collect the meat. We boiled it, just in case it's carrying harmful organisms. And it's dried like this now, since I collected it a week ago. We'll just go ahead and place it inside, so the ants could do their thing. And they started immediately, easily punching a hole into the lizard's skin. And on the eyes, like they did on the goby fish. It's actually pretty ironic to see them feeding on a house gecko. In these room the lizards is actually the predator as they prey on the ants. Like there are lots of reproductives flying around, but this time, the ants is having a taste of the one preying on them for years. After 12 hours of work on collecting the lizard's meat, the skull and the upper spinal looks already cleared. Anyway, these ants are perfect for the job, buddies, as they have one of the strongest mandibles for chewing, which given them the name of destructive ants. After few more hours, they started to work on the ribs and they even managed to remove one from here. This is bad, as I want the bones to be complete as much as possible. Like those dinosaurs skeleton displays on museums. And they even start to work on the other paws as well, that might get dismantled like the other feet here which the claws has been removed. So we decided to take it back early in less than 24 hours, as the two front legs is already detached. And they're removing more and more ribs. What I'm waiting for them to clear is this part. But they stopped working on it. Looks like they're not interested on whatever is on the guts. So we leave it like that, as removing it myself will risk breaking the whole thing. For the front leg bones, we attached them back using super glue. and we'll be processing the preservation soon, buddies, so stay tuned about that. And here's the meat they've collected, well stocked on some of their driest chambers, carefully being watched by the workers assigned to keep the meat in good condition at all times. This will feed the colony for a few days, and will further advance the colony's workforce. And that's it for this massive 2-year-old colony. We'll do another one in the future for sure. As long as we manage to keep the colony going, as the temperature in my place keep getting hotter and hotter. At this rate, this might cause us to lost some of the colonies we owned, if it keeps getting higher. I just hope you have learned something from this video, guys. Be a genie for the first time, by granting my wish and tapping the like and share button. That would help a lot. This is D Colony, saying goodbye for now, but hoping to see you on my next videos.